I feel so uncomfortable. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. Hi. Hi. So I don't really know what I'm doing, but I thought I would get on and just do a little like get to know me, share a little bit more about myself with you guys because I'm really going to try and be on YouTube more. I hate to admit this because I do social media as my job, but I am terrible at navigating social media apps, technology, anything like that. I'm not good at. And for someone that does, like I said, social media as their job, that's horrible. But if there's a way for me to get on YouTube and like chat with you guys in stories like I can on Instagram or even TikTok, let me know because I don't know. So drop that in comments if there is a way to do that. Anyway, my name is Tarina, spelled just like Teresa, but with an N, also said the same way. I don't know why. For some reason, people will pronounce it Trina, and any way other than Tarina, but it doesn't matter. Usually I'm just like, just call me T. It's easier. I have 3 kiddos. They are 15, 11, and 5. My husband and I have been married. It'll be 5 years this year. Yes, my older 2 are from a previous marriage. I'm not embarrassed to admit that I was married previously, and that did not work out. I am so happy to report that we are in much better standings than we had been previously. Co-parenting is not fun if you can't get along. So always put your kids first. I had my oldest when I was 19, and that was difficult. I feel like we always say that we kind of grew up together, and without a doubt, she has probably taught me so much more about life than I have ever taught her. She is incredible. She will be driving soon, which is just insane to me. I feel like I blinked and the years just flew by, but it like makes me emotional to talk about my kids. I don't know, I feel like I've been a mom my whole life. Like I found out I was pregnant at 18. I was a freshman in college, and I don't even remember life before being a mom. And it's truly my greatest joy. My best work is being a mom. My middle son is on the autism spectrum. He also has what they call severe speech apraxia. There was a time he was completely nonverbal. I remember meeting with his ABA therapist when he was 4 or 5 and just telling her, we went over goals. And one of my goals was just for him to be able to either understand yes or no, show me yes or no, just be able to. I remember being like, if I could just ask him, do you want this for a snack? Him to say yes or no. Do you want this? Yes or no? To try to limit those frustrations and the outbursts that we would have. Navigating being an autism mom to this day has probably been the most challenging thing I've gone through. And I wouldn't change him or anything for the world, but the fear of something happening to me, who's going to take care of him, the fears and the things that you worried about as a special needs mom, I can't even put them into words because it's a whole different world. I need to make sure that he is going to be set up for life and taken care of if something ever happens to me. And that's something I don't worry about with my other 2 because they can take care of themselves. And I don't know. It's hard, but he is the best blessing. He is so smart. His mind is so beautiful. The way he thinks, how he looks at things, it's incredible. He can spell like nobody. He loves to write and he can visually remember so much. Like if he's watching a show, he will do Nickelodeon Productions and then put the TM like in the circle. He can spell that. His mind is incredible. He is so smart and so funny. His sense of humor, he'll like just randomly start laughing and you're like, uh-oh, what's he planning? It's a joy as well. And then my youngest is mine and my husband's child together. He is the littlest, the youngest, but without a doubt, the loudest. He makes his presence known. He makes his opinion known. He has the funniest sense of humor, and it's just crazy to parent the 3 children and see their different personalities, their different needs, the things that they enjoy. I truly love being a mom. I got pregnant with my oldest when I was a freshman in college and I was going to school for nursing. So when she was about a year and a half, I went back to school. That was challenging. I did that for about a year, and then I just didn't want to be away from her. So I stayed home, had my other son, and then in 2016, I went through my divorce. I'm not going to get too much into the dynamics of our relationship because, like I said, we're in a good place and I'm so grateful for that now. It took a long time to get here. Going through my divorce and navigating from being a stay-at-home mom to having to provide for 2 children was a lot. We actually left the house, the marital home, and then my 2 children and I moved into my old bedroom in my parents' house until I could save up enough, and then we got a 1-bedroom apartment because that's all I could afford. And I'll never forget, even though it was a 1-bedroom and we were all in this space, we were so happy, and it was like, this is what matters, you know? I actually found a job at a local pub, and I never was a waitress before. I don't know how they called me. I filled out the application, no waitressing experience, and it truly was by the grace of God. They called me and they were like, okay, we are super short staffed. We're going to start you with food running, hostessing, and then we'll see how you do and maybe work you up to a server. And at that point I was like, whatever. They were flexible with my hours, what I could work. So I ran in there, learned the food industry, and then started serving and eventually did a little bit of bartending as well. So that's how I was able to save up and get the apartment for us, which was just crazy. I don't know, that time of life is just wild. When I look back, I was in pure survival mode, and you just do what you got to do. And then it was October of 2017 that I met my now husband, Matt. We met at a bar. It's still one of my favorite stories. So my friend and his friend were talking, and they both were, like, I think you would really like this person, blah, blah, blah. I was in a complete man-hating phase. I was just not feeling it. I was working. I was just, I was a year out from my separation and divorce, and I just was, I don't know. That was not my focus. And my husband, Matt, but at the time, obviously not, was going to be moving across country in 3 weeks to Arizona. So he was like, why do I want to meet this girl if I'm going to be moving across country? And I was like, I don't want to meet this guy. So anyway, it was after work. And she was like, just come up here, I'll buy you chicken tenders and fries. And if you know me, I'm a sucker for chicken tenders and fries. I was like, okay. So I went home real quick, changed. I had a hoodie on, sweatpants, and my hair up in a bun. It was the epitome of I don't care. I didn't want to be here. I'm here for the food. And I remember just sitting there and talking with him, and it was one of the easiest conversations. And right away, I was like, I have 2 kids. He's like, oh, that's cool. There was nothing I said that he even, I don't know, looked at different or anything. And I remember just leaving there oh, maybe we'll just be friends. I just met this cool guy, not thinking much of it. And then I think from that day on, we talked every single day. He asked me to be his girlfriend 2 weeks later, and then he moved to Arizona. So he still moved to Arizona. He was there from November till June. And we always say to this day that was probably the best thing for our relationship, because it forced us to take things very slow, but also to really get to know each other. We would have such meaningful, in-depth conversations. We talked about everything: views on life, Jesus, parenting, just everything. We just really became best friends. And we always say that looking back, that was probably the best thing for us. I would go out to Arizona to visit him a couple times. He would come home. I think we were both looking at it if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. We didn't put any pressure on it. It was just kind of well, let's see what happens. End of June is when he met my daughter for the first time. I didn't bring him around the kids even when he came home, or really talk to the kids about him, because my biggest fear was I didn't want to just bring anybody into their life. I didn't want them to remember different men. I didn't want them anything. So it was kind of hey, if you meet my kids, this is serious. You want this. And so it was end of June that he met my daughter, and then a couple days later he met my son, and then it just kind of slowly started to form from there. And then by end of July, early August, The kids were asking for him to come over all the time. He would bring dinner. I remember my kids, I just remember him coming over and just feeling like this feels so right and just being so excited in my little 1-bedroom apartment. And then we did a family trip with his family to Disney World in October of 2018, and he asked me to marry him there. And he asked my daughter for her permission first, which I found out after, and I thought that was the sweetest thing. And then we had our son in August of 2019. The C word hit the following year. We got married October of 2020. Here we are. It's not the traditional story, but it's my favorite. And I worked in the restaurant industry up until 2020. And then he's done construction. In 2021, we started the remodeling company, and we've just been slowly trying to build and grow that. March of 2023, I really started social media, doing vlogs. I loved watching vlogs, and I was like, okay, I think I can recreate that content. Like, you know, I can share my life, because I that was the content I loved watching. So that's kind of how I got started with the vlogs. And if you go back to my first vlogs and my voiceovers, I'm now just like, Trina, what were you doing? Like, girl, come on. So bad. I didn't know how to edit. I didn't realize there was like CapCut or InShot. So I used to film them in time lapse. Time lapse. Like, I just thought like, oh, that's how they do it. But I could not figure out how people edited. So then I messaged someone that I followed, and she actually shared with me how they did it. And I was like, very nice, very nice. And yeah, now we are here almost 2 years later, and I get to do this full time. So I started my YouTube channel a year ago, and yeah, it's been a journey here as well. I'm so grateful. I'm trying to get better, like I said, at doing long form vlogs, because I really enjoy watching those, but I feel like I'm so bad at editing them. And then I get in my own head. I'm my worst enemy. Like, I get in my own head, like, who's going to want to watch this? You're so, you know, whatever. But then I'm like, wait, I enjoy watching that. So maybe if I can just help like one person not feel so alone, if I can just like make a person's day, or, you know, just be a little light in this crazy world, then I'm doing it and I'm happy. So that's me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And thank you for being a part of my small corner of the internet.